So, for some t-shirts, can somebody tell me what TL1 is? You with the hand in the back.
Transaction language 1.
Yeah.
And can anybody give me one security concern with that she'll agree with or not?
Yeah, sure.
Who said that?
It's not in my presentation, but that is a good, well, sort of,
Right.
but.
I have a wonderful O'Reilly book. Who here knows nothing about network security assessment? All right. This is Rachel Warren, or Rachel Warren, Rachel Bicknell now.
I got married.
Big round of applause. TL1 Device Security.
Thank you. So yeah, my name is Rachel Bicknell, and I am told that there are a lot of James Madison alumni here. So if they remember me, I used to be Rachel Warren, and my email address is rachel@ufp.org, and I'm going to be discussing TL1 devices and their security concerns. In this presentation, I will oops, hold on. There we go. All right. In this presentation, I will tell you my motivation for talking about TL1 device security. I'm also going to explain what TL1 is and tools to enhance TL1 device security. I was working for a small CLEC/ISP in Memphis where they outsourced the monitoring of all their transmission gear to the vendor. The vendor was using its own proprietary TL1 monitoring software to report alarms and outages. So when the ISP I worked for decided... Thank you. Okay, so when the Memphis ISP decided they wanted to insource the alarm reporting to save a significant amount of money, like $250,000, we looked at various options. Most of the equipment was only running TL1 and not any sort of IP addressing, thus it could not be monitored via an SNMP. To run IP on the equipment, we would have to shell out a good amount of money for their virtual IP product. No. No, just straight TL1. It made me kind of indignant that the vendor would make us pay extra money for something that other major vendors like Cisco would give you for free. So I thought to myself, why not learn TL1 to write a TL1 to SNMP proxy to put in an open source monitoring system. Thus I learned more about TL1 and its security features and flaws. So what is TL1? As I started looking for more information about TL1, I found everything I needed to know at www.tl1guru.com. TL1 is an ASCII-based instruction language that is used primarily to talk to telco muxes. So TL1 devices are part of the nuts and bolts that make networks run. TL1 devices include muxes, XWDM gear, DWDM, CWDM, and DSLAMs. I'm going to explain in the next few slides how TL1 devices are the hidden part of your wide area network. This picture shows how most people understand what circuits look like. You know, in this example, you have two routers that have a serial interface that connect to each other via the local bell, you know, whoever your local bell is. At ground zero, as I can show you, the circles are routers, the triangles are multiplexers. The small multiplexers in this example are T1s to DS3 multiplexers, while the larger triangles are DS3 to OC3 multiplexers. So, you know, you've got a router and it goes to the other one through the multiplexers in the network. Before TL1, every network vendor implemented the vendor's own type of ASCII-based control language. Each language was different, therefore each had to be separately memorized by operators and programmed by developers and operation system support. Bellcore, in its role to standardize as the standard setter for the RBox, decided in 1984 to specify a standard for controlling network elements. The language was called Transaction language 1. Note that because TL1 was created in 1984, it predates TCP/IP. Serial interfaces were the norm to interact with the transmission devices. TL1 also predates SNMP, which started coming together around 1987. In 1985, the first large-scale system from Bellcore was being delivered. Bellcore required the network elements to support TL1 interfaces, and vendors rapidly implemented it. Today, Sonnet and optical vendors also use the TL1 standard. Some TL1-based devices today are the Cisco ONS 1500 series, or excuse me, 15th. We just call them, for lack of better wording, ONS the Cisco ONS gear, and the Nortel Optera series. And here is a breakdown of a TL1 command. In number 1, the command code block, there is a command called set attribute equipment. In number 2, it's called the staging block, which has the name of the device, the port identifier, and the sequence number, which is like old school basic 10, 20, 30. The third part contains the parameters. In this example, 1 is setting the attribute of the OC3 to be in major alarm severity of loss of frame. Here's an example of retrieving all the alarms on device node B. In this case, the command outputs 3 alarms. Say it again.
Is it an overhead packet or frame that's traveling with the customer's data, or is it a separate channel?
It's a separate channel. TL1 is not a user-friendly language. In 1984, in the age of COBOL and Fortran, TL1 must have seemed as user-friendly as it came. The majority of IT people do not know about transmission devices, let alone TL1. Thus, many companies have used security through obscurity or have not used any security at all. The first thing one needs to know about how to get in and log out of the devices would be these 2 commands. One would be to ack user, which activates the user via login and password, and cancel user, which cancels the user's access to a device. So in these 2 examples, you're activating the user C15454-NYC. That is the device. Cisco 15 is your login, and OTBU +1 is the password. And the same goes for the cancel user. Here,
That's like a create, not the actual login.
no, that is the login. That's not creating the login. That is how you log in. Here are just a few default logins for various TL1 devices. I could have easily made this more than 1 slide, but I will leave that up to you guys to find. You can usually find these logins and passwords via TL1 documentation of the various products listed. If you're still running these accounts and passwords, you should probably change them as soon as possible or delete the account altogether. If you do not secure your transmission devices, one could potentially delete cross connects that your customers use, losing tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. Delete backbone circuits that your network uses, potentially losing millions of dollars, if not more. And setting false alarms on equipment, thus panicking your NOC and wasting the company time and money trying to solve the issue. How easy is it to obtain these commands? Well, for example, Cisco has documentation that is free to the public that gives you all the commands, all the TL1 commands you could ever want or need. How can one minimize potential damage? Here are some of my following suggestions. Only allow certain network segments to access the devices, most likely through a firewall, a router access list, or a bastion host. Create logins with various levels of access as needed if your equipment does that. Some TL1 equipment does not allow you to do that, Once you are in,